3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody and welcome to Tonight in STEM. I'm your host, Juan. This is the show where I interview professionals in the field of, well, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Today I have Frank Barragan with me. How are you doing today?
Hey Juan, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Busy day today?
Busy life in the entrepreneurial world.
That's awesome. And that's actually a reason why I have you on today to talk a little bit about your business, Ad Inicio.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that I have been updating the website, tonightinstem.com. I was looking to get that domain name. So you can go there, go and get the past episodes, starting from episode number 1. So I guess we'll get right into it and talk to Frank. Frank, you are a computer science who graduated from California State, LA, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And what did you do out of Cal State, LA?
Well, so I focused on computer science. That was one of the things that I became passionate about. Fortunately, I became passionate about computers when I was very young. When I was in I think it was like in 8th or 9th grade. And so, yeah, it was very early, and I think it was very fortunate for me. That kind of gave me a path to follow, and I always knew that I wanted to go to college. So that was very, very prevalent early on.
So so we're in 8th, okay. So what really got you into computers? Everyone kind of says that, oh, the whole gaming aspect. Were you one of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll step back a little bit and tell you how it all originated. So I did want to go into game development, game design. That was something that it was very exciting, very exciting field at the time. And I think it's still very exciting right now. But before that, the reason why I got into computers, and it was kind of by accident or by luck. And I've told this story a couple of times, and when I go and talk at high schools and community colleges. So basically, my dad, when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, he that's
the picture.
We immigrated from Mexico. That's a picture of me and my grandpa in a little pueblo of Tamazola in Oaxaca.
Okay.
And a picture of El Zócalo in Mexico DF. So we came here when I was 8, started 3rd grade, actually 4th grade here, 5th grade, and so on and so forth. And when I was about, like I said, I think it was in the 8th grade or so, which was about like 15, 16, something like that. My dad happened to get us a computer, and just by luck. I mean, he didn't know what a computer was. He didn't know what it did. This was back in the times of the 386, 16 megahertz, I think it was. And not everybody had a computer. I think I was like probably one of the only kids from my friends that had one.
What was the computer?
It was a 386. Yeah, it was a 386 16. I think it was a Dell or something. And so the reason he got it is because one of his friends worked at Radio Shack, and as I like to tell it, I fell off the truck. I fell off the back of a truck.
Wait, what? I haven't heard this story.
So I guess that's a Hispanic thing, things falling off the back of trucks or something. And yeah, I guess you haven't heard that one. So my dad had this friend that worked at Radio Shack, and I guess he was I don't know, he happened to take a couple of the computers and sold them off on his own. And I think my dad bought it off him for like $100 or something very cheap. And so that's how we ended up with a computer. And my siblings didn't really take interest in it because they didn't know what the hell, what it was.
How many siblings do you have?
3. So okay. 2 sisters and 1 brother. I am the oldest, yeah. Okay. And so they didn't. I should watch what I say because they're probably going to watch this and they're going to be like, I can't believe you said that. But they were younger, so they didn't know what to do with a computer, and so it was kind of left up to me to figure out how to use it, what to do with it, etc. And
tinker, like how did you learn how to use it, like?
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that took a year, 2 years, or whatever, because we didn't have any money to fix a computer if it broke. I had to figure everything out myself, right? So I went through several iterations of breaking the computer, from deleting files that I shouldn't have, to replacing hardware parts. I mean, it was it was a learning curve. It was a learning experience, and so. But I had to figure everything out, and that's kind of how I got into computers and then into bulletin board systems. At that time, I mean, you're way too young for that.
Oh wait,
do you know what that is?
okay. Wait, let's step back. Bulletin board systems. What is that? I have to ask because I honestly don't know.
Before the internet, not before the internet, but it's kind of like very very basic forums. No graphical, no graphics on these. Right, so they were basically all just text-based, and kind of like what you would see on a website forum nowadays.
Okay.
Maybe like a Reddit or something very simple, and people will dial up on there with their 28.8s or 56K modems, and
so people don't know what 56K is. That is really, really, really slow.
For all you millennials that don't know what that is,
yes.
It's I would say maybe on the order of 100 times slower than what you have right now. No, maybe 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not do this broadcast on there.
And
by
if
any
you got
means.
A phone call, it would just drop.
Oh yeah, you would
offline.
get kicked off. Yeah. So that was a horrible part.
So we suffered through that. I guess say that. So I'm dating myself, or am I too? I don't know. But
you actually got some of that?
Yeah, I did. I remember that.
Wow.
I got probably one of the last AOL discs in the mail.
Yeah.
I never used them because I was I guess smart enough to say like, no, I don't know what this is.
Well, so I got on AOL before I did the whole bulletin board system first, and then I found out about AOL. I got online, and it was a very interesting experience. But after that, then I started getting into games, like Atari and ColecoVision and television. Again, dating myself, Atari 2600, playing Frogger and Pong, and I think the game there on the top right, I think it's called Walking or something. It's very simple. You just walk.
So yes, these are video games. These are our PlayStation, Xbox. I actually. Oh, so I have a little short story on this. So, I actually got one of these at a garage sale.
Wow. Recently?
No. This was maybe like 10 years ago. And I knew it was. I plugged it in, and it didn't work. And I'm assuming it probably did work. They had told me to test it out and everything. Well, of course, going on their word. But then that's Saturday.
Did you blow on the cartridges?
I did, yes. I don't remember what the cartridges were. But then we just sold it that Saturday. My mom had a garage sale, so.
Got it.
Yeah, so I can definitely. I've held one of those. Let's just say that.
The ancestors, yeah. So yeah, that's what got me into like, hey, I want to create this stuff. I want to know how what it takes to build this, and I knew that you had to go to college for that. I wasn't going to learn that in high school. There was no programming classes back at that time in high school. Now there are in quite a few high schools and some even some middle schools.
Right.
And now you can learn to program online. All kinds of online courses and stuff that are free. So, but yeah, we didn't really have that back then.
How did you get into the whole university mindset? You're just telling me that you just kind of knew it, but did your parents help out? Were you seeing other friends go to college? How did you kind of go into that?
No, I mean, I want to say the majority of my friends that time, didn't go to college. There was maybe a handful that I knew that were going to go, and that were kind of directed that way. My parents made it seem that it was important, but they never really, like forced it down my throat or my siblings' throats. Like they never pushed it that much. They thought I think they kind of gave me a lot of. They trusted that I was going to make the right decision, and I had told them that I was going to go to college at some point. And I think mainly it was because I knew that if I wanted to learn how to work with computers, and if I wanted to program video games, that the only path or the main path was going to be going to college. So that's one of the reasons why I felt like I was directed towards that.
So and then why? So you went to Cal State LA. Was that your first choice? Why did you choose that? Was it close to home or?
Yeah, that was my first choice. No, I actually I don't have I guess a typical story. So that wasn't my first choice. My first choice was like MIT.
Okay.
MIT, Stanford were one of my first choices, and because they were very well known, they were, they had a very good notoriety.
Good reputation.
Yeah, great reputation, especially for computer science, majors, especially MIT, and at that time I was like, wow, that's the best school in the U.S., maybe in the world. I want to go there, but I struggled through high school with, I was a little shy. I also had this thing with public speaking, and because of it, I ended up dropping out in 12th grade.
Huh.
And I think I've told you about this one before.
Yeah.
So I ended up dropping out, and I didn't. I was the reason I dropped out is because I didn't want to go on stage. At the graduation stage, I was like terrified of being the center of attention. Yeah, it was horrible. It was one of the dumbest decisions I've ever made. But in hindsight, But I always knew that I wanted to go to college. So I was like, okay, fine. If I drop out, fine. I'll still go to college. Doesn't matter. But I wasn't doing too well in 11th grade, 12th grade. I had a good 9th and 10th, but the latter years weren't that great. And so, my GPA wasn't all that great. My SATs weren't all that great. And so I kind of threw myself out of the running. I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to go to MIT because my grades aren't that great and my SATs suck. So it was going to be something like, stay here in the Valley and do CSUN, go out to Cal State LA, or maybe UCLA. Well, UCLA was one of the other ones that I thought would be a cool place to apply. But I didn't apply to them. The only place that I applied to was Cal State LA, because I knew they were going to take me. I was like, I'm sure they'll take me. They take anybody.
Oh.
And so, unfortunately, that was my mindset back then. I wish I would have applied to the UCLAs, to MIT, Stanford, and I wish I would have tried harder in high school. Probably would have been, a whole different story. But yeah, so that's how I ended up at Cal State LA. It was my first choice.
What year did you graduate?
In 2004. So I was on the 10-year plan.
Okay. The super extreme senior?
Exactly. The gray hair senior. So I did community college for about, I want to say,
that.
Yeah, so I went to Pierce College out here in San Fernando Valley, and I did that for about, I think it was maybe 6 to 8 years. And part of it because I was waiting for my green card, becoming a citizen. Correct. And getting my permanent residency actually first, and then becoming a citizen. And at that time, you couldn't really go to a university if you didn't have a permanent residence card. Plus, the out-of-state tuition, was horrible.
Yeah.
So
financial issue.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and we were poor, so we couldn't afford to pay that, pay the out-of-state tuition. So I basically just kind of lollygagged, and at community college. I went out a lot, went out dancing a lot and stuff, and just kind of partying a lot.
I hear you're a good salsa dancer.
I wouldn't say good, but
you're learning, right?
I know like 4 moves.
Hey, that's 4 more than I know. 4 more than you do.
But I was sporting a lot, and then when I transferred out to Cal State LA, I got my permanent residence card, transferred out to Cal State LA, and I finished in like 2 years, like my upper division classes. So once I got there, I was like, okay, I gotta get this done. By that time I was I think 28. And it was 2004. That's when I got my degree.
Frank, can you talk about the curriculum of computer science? I know it's changed a lot over time. I've talked to a lot of coworkers, and they always kind of tell me that they remember it very differently. Can you speak to that?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what the curriculum is now, but when I was going to college, it was just transitioning over from C++ to Java, and I think the reason for that being was that at that time, Java was making a big impact in the software industry, and a lot of companies were switching over to Java because it was portable. You can write once, run everywhere. It did a lot of the stuff that you can do with C++. It was almost as fast, not as fast.
Both object oriented.
Right, both object oriented. but I think the biggest factor was that you can run it everywhere on any type of system. It didn't have to be Unix or Windows or whatever.
Correct.
And so I think I took maybe like one class in C++, and the rest were all in Java. So everything I learned, from data structures to algorithms to some network security, some web development, most of it was done in Java. So I think for the most part, I think the curriculum has stayed the same. I think mostly most of the Java classes have been they're in place for the past 10 years, and I think what I've seen a little bit more is in some of the classes is going into web development a little bit more, delving into web development a little bit more. But yeah, I don't think it's changed a whole lot from when I was going to college.
So what was your first job out of college? I know you graduated in 2004.
Yeah. So I graduated at 28, so I was on the 20-year plan or whatever.
Yeah.
10-year plan.
Super senior.
Yeah, super senior. I should have graduated when I was 23 or whatever, but I got it done. I think I might have been 29. But my first job out of college was a company called Capital Group.
Okay.
And Capital Group was a big financial company, not the one for the credit cards. That's Capital One.
Yes.
But Capital Group is a big privately held investment firm. They do a lot of mutual funds. They do a little bit of stock investments, but mostly mutual funds. And they have offices all over the place in London and Tokyo. I mean, they're worldwide. And when I started working there, I first got an internship there, and I was getting paid $18 an hour when I started there, which was a big jump from my previous job, which was only about $11 or $12 an hour.
Yeah, huge jump. What was that job previously?
So that one was at Disney Interactive.
Oh, really? Wait, $11 an hour at Disney Interactive?
At that time, yes.
Okay, yes.
I think it might have been like 12 or 13 possibly, but yeah, the jump from there to this internship was pretty big, and part because they already knew that I was going to get my degree within a few months, and so when they brought me on board, that's what they offered me. And I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then eventually they hired me full time, and I started at, I think it was like 55,000 a year, which was kind of the base around that time.
Correct.
Or entry level. And so, I got to sit at this, beautiful cherry desk. It was on the 32nd floor of the Bank of America building here in downtown.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was to be, just freshly out of college, and to get an opportunity like that was to me was amazing. It was like, wow.
Yeah, being a student, poor, and this huge transition.
Yeah, totally. So that was really cool. That was something that I won't forget.
So, tell me a little bit about how you jumped into being IT manager for SHIP. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how was that? Because I imagine you were kind of stable, kind of happy at Capital Group. How's that transition? Why did you make that move?
It's funny. Now that you mentioned this, it feels like I tend to I'm seeing a pattern in my life where I get to a point where I feel like maybe I'm a little too comfortable, and then I was like I gotta jump and do something else, something completely different.
Frank's always on the move, right?
Feels like it. But it was good pay, especially right out of high school. I mean, college. I can't complain. It was really good, and but it was such a big organization that I didn't feel like I mattered. I didn't feel like I was making a difference. I was a bit of a rebel rouser, so I would try to do things to improve my team, the software there. I worked on developed a couple of websites that would help us become a little bit more efficient. Management didn't take to that too well. They basically they just wanted you to do your job and just just kind of fall in place basically. And I had a little bit of an issue with that, even though I had just come out of college. So I was looking around for another opportunity, and there happened to be this job fair in downtown. So one day, during lunch, I took a bus down to the convention center. I think it was a convention center, and I saw this. I saw that IBM was there, and I got a little excited. I thought, wow, maybe I can work for IBM.
Yeah.
So
because they were very Java based, right?
Right. So I went over there and I thought, okay, this this should be a pretty easy job to get, because even though it's IBM, I have some programming skills. I do Java, and they do a lot of Java. At that time, well, they still do a lot of Java now. But I figured that okay, maybe not that easy to get, but I thought, okay, let me at least throw my hat in there.
Yeah, try. You had a different mindset.
Right. Yeah, I figured I have to try. I have to at least try and see if I can get in. So I go to talk to the individual that was there at the booth. His name is Raul Munoz, and he was a big supporter of SHIP at that time.
Oh, okay.
And so he was doing some of the hiring, and unfortunately there wasn't any developer jobs out in LA really. Most of them were either outsourced or back in the East Coast. So I wasn't really willing to move, to the East Coast. I love California. I think it's the best place in the world.
We can't complain with this weather.
Yeah, it's amazing. But he did offer me this opportunity to apply for this opportunity for SHIP, and he said, yeah, we work for a nonprofit, or we work with a nonprofit. We sponsor them. We're very close with them, and we have this opportunity for an IT manager, in LA. So I was like, okay, let me take a look at that. I looked at the requirements. They're like, your resume kind of fits perfectly with this, what we're looking for. They sent my resume to the director of operations at the time. I got an interview, and I felt pretty confident when I went into the interview. I got hired, and it was really cool because now I got a chance to have my own department.
Oh, nice.
To make a bit, to make a difference.
Yeah.
Working for a nonprofit, so that was really awesome, and. Now I felt like I went from being a small cog in the wheel to or a small fish in a big pond to a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was
also with a non-profit making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a non-profit, so I felt like I was actually making a difference. So yeah, so I was there for for about 8 years.
Wow, 8 years. Okay, so okay, a few things. You went from computer science to be in IT. What skill sets did you have that kind of transitioned to the IT field? Well,
part of it was, I have the technical support background, right? Because at Disney Interactive, I did a lot of technical support.
Okay.
And so I was really good at fixing computers and whatnot. So I had that background. I had the programming background, which they were looking for also. And I had done some Java programming at Capital Group. So they were looking for somebody that knew how to do Java programming and to jump into some J2E stuff. Some web development, I had. And I think those are the main things. I did actually also have a bit of managerial experience at Disney Interactive. I was one of the senior techs, and so kind of helped to manage a small group of technical support reps. So I had some of that, and I think all that put together is what landed me the job.
Yeah, nice. So can you talk a little bit about SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers?
Sure. So I was never exposed to SHIP. I knew about it before working there. When I was going to school, I knew about SHIP, and I knew it was an engineering society, a Hispanic engineering society. But I never had the inkling to go in and join because it was mainly for engineers. And here I am, a computer science major. I just didn't feel like I fit in there, and so that, and also because when I started school, the computer science the classes, or the whole department was in one building, and the engineering department was in a completely brand new building that they had just erected, like I think it was like 4 years before that, and so we're completely separate. Later in my last year, they moved us over to the engineering building, and that's where that's where the program is now, the computer science program. But I didn't have that closeness. I wasn't directly tied with them. I didn't really have a lot of interaction with them, so I never joined SHIP at school. So when I started working there, that's when I found out how big SHIP was and how they were all over the place, and I got to travel to different locations, different chapters, and different regions to hold events, and I got to meet a lot of people, which was probably one of the best things about this job, that I have there, was being able to network with such a large number of individuals from all diverse backgrounds. Mostly Latino, but Dominicans, Cubans, Colombians, etc. You name it. I mean, it was pretty cool. And so that was my first taste of SHIP, and I kind of fell in love with the organization. And I still volunteer with them to this date, being president of the chapter here in the San Fernando Valley, and I work with a lot some of the student chapters. So it's been a great experience.
So you mentioned you were an IT manager there for 8 years. What gave you the push to start your own company, which you have right now, a web development company called Ad Inicio?
Right. So
because we were talking about how you were moving very fast. You're always moving. Did something just kind of switch, or?
So I mentioned that it just kind of hit me earlier when you mentioned that when I was working at Capital Group, and I felt kind of complacent or comfortable, and I felt like I need to completely change my what I'm doing. That's kind of how it felt with SHIP. I got to a point where you couldn't really grow a whole lot more. There's no director of technology. It's just IT manager, and then that's kind of a ceiling. In the technical, if you're doing the technical arena. And I also felt that I've always wanted to have my own business. I always wanted to start one. I just didn't know when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen. But I always knew that that's something that I needed to do, that I wanted to do, and that at some point I would be doing, right.
At what age did you kind of get that idea? You want to start your own business?
Honestly, I don't even remember. I think maybe it was in high school or something. But it was a pipe dream. It was something that I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. I wanted to make it happen, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
You just wanted to start your own business, kind of thing.
Yeah, just the idea was wow, I really want to do that at some point. Sometime in my life, I want to be able to have that. And so working at SHIP, and a couple of variables happened that allowed me to do that. One was that my dad had a heart attack, and I had to move and come in, kind of take care of him and my parents and stuff. So I moved from Monte, or City of Industry, out to the Valley, which was about an hour and a half drive. So
that's through LA.
Yeah,
it's a lot of traffic
all the way across LA. Yeah, so it was an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half back.
Oof.
And so I was doing that for a few months, and then I decided, okay, this is sort of I'm at a crux where it's a good point for me to jump off and give this a shot. I was doing my business part-time at that time. I was only doing maybe one project every couple of months, and didn't really think much about it. It just it was more of a passion project. But once I moved back to the Valley, I thought, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to be able to jump in and jump in with both feet, do this full time, and let's see where this goes. So that's I took the leap. It was frightening. It's very scary. The first month, I was like, holy crap, what did I do? But it got better and better, and it's been a really amazing experience. But yeah, it was very scary.
Have you had saved up money? Were you have you basically prepared to start your own business? How ready were you? Would you change anything if you had to go back and kind of from the very beginning, right?
Right. So there's definitely things I would change. In hindsight, probably one of the biggest things is that I would have saved more money. I had about 3 months worth of salary, when I left SHIP, and I thought, I was a little naive. I thought, okay, this will be enough.
So how much would you recommend then?
Well, so I thought, this will be enough. I'll start getting clients in no time, and I'll start ramping up my clientele, and I'll be good in over 3 months. So I would honestly, because once that money starts running out, and your focus is mainly on getting the revenue from your business to be able to survive, and it can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes, and they can be
Correct.
a little scary. I would recommend maybe saving about a year's worth of,
Okay.
of income, or at least to cover all the expenses. It seems like a lot. It's probably not a whole lot. I mean, I saved the 3 months in pretty quickly, but I think I would totally, if I could go back and do this again, I would save about a year's worth, and then that'll definitely give me that would have given me a lot of cushion to be able to play with, and not stress about the money situation as much as after the 3 months.
Okay. Well, you still have your business. You made it through those 3 months.
So far, so good. Yeah.
So how long have you had your business?
So I registered it in, when was it? October of 2013. So it's going on what? It's going on 2 years almost.
Yeah.
It's like a year and like, I don't know, 6 months or something like that.
Okay. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, it's been an amazing experience. It's definitely been challenging. There's definitely been months where I'm like stressed out. But then there's been months where I'm like, kind of cruising down PCH, and I'm just, enjoying, the sun at, in the middle of the day on a weekday. So it's definitely has its pros and cons.
Correct. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about Ad Inicio?
Sure.
I actually have the website up.
Right. So I mainly focus on web design. About 80% of the work that I do is web design. I'm also starting to get into app development, learning how to do that, and I'm actually working on an app right now, or an idea for an app with a couple of friends, and I also do some digital marketing, which is basically doing some Facebook ads, Google ads, looking at how to do some search engine optimization, how to draw people to a website once it's built. But the bulk of my work has been so far, it's been web design, and partly because I'm a developer by nature. I like coding, I like programming, so I also like the design aspect of or the aesthetic aspect of design. So that really draws my attention as well. So
that's awesome. So how big is your company? Or I hear it's you and then your brother, correct?
Right. So I do the majority of the programming, like I said, the coding. My brother is helping me out with building my sales funnel, which is a big thing for me right now. Is the ability to have a funnel where I can have consistent clients coming in every month. And so he's taking a big chunk of that and helping me develop that. And then whenever, like I said, I do most of the coding myself, but whenever I get overwhelmed, or when I have too much work, or where I need some free time, I will outsource. I outsource some of it to a couple of developers that I've built connections with through websites like Elance and Odesk. And there's another website, I forget the name of it, but basically I connected with some developers from there. Started off with very small jobs, and now they'll help me with some of the design work, some of the development work, depending on what my workload is.
Ad Inicio. So where do you see your business going in, let's say, 5 years? How big do you want to get?
As big as possible. I would like to, when I first officially went in full time, I wanted to hit $1 million, right? That was like the big goal. And I thought I could hit $1 million in 5 years. I thought,
well, you have 3 left.
Yeah, that would be a good goal. First year, after the first year, I maybe hit 100,000. Second year, 250. Third year, 500, and then just kind of keep escalating from that, right?
Yeah, kind of grow.
Grow. Kind of organically. But growing is not as easy as that. So I still want to hit the million marker, and once I hit that million marker, then I'll decide what if there's a next goal, if I want to hit 10 million, 100 million, or whatever. But I think the big milestone for me right now is being able to hit that million.
So how do you grow? Like, I know you set your goals from 100 to maybe 200 and go from there. Is it mainly word of mouth, advertising? You have any marketing?
Right. So most of it right now is word of mouth. The majority, I would say, like a good 90% of my business has been word of mouth referrals, and the cool thing about referrals is that you don't really have to sell it a whole lot because you kind of already have that trust built, from previous work from other clients. And so sales from referrals get locked down very easily. It's the other sales that don't, that take a little bit more work, and you have to go through a lot more contacts and more leads to be able to close those. But I want to step away from the referral system, and maybe still have a portion of that, but that is very sporadic. The revenue from that is it goes up and down like a roller coaster. So 1 month I might have like 0 clients. 1 month I might have 1 or 2 clients, and then might go up to 4 another month, and it just varies a lot. So it's difficult to predict how much money you're going to have a certain month. And so the months that are good, you have to kind of save up money for the next months that may not be so good. So like I mentioned, I'm working with my brother to develop this sales funnel. So basically the way a sales funnel works is if you want to target, let's say, having 4 clients a month, which would be about 1 client a week. In order to be able to get that, you have to talk to at least let's say 40 clients or 40 contacts, 40 businesses. Out of those 40 businesses, maybe you'll be able to sit down and have a one-on-one or a face-to-face with about maybe 10 or 15, and then out of those 10 or 15 that you have face-to-face meetings with, maybe about 4 or 5 may need your services or maybe a good fit. And so, but if you can do that continuously, and if you have consistency with that and do that month in and month out, you can predict that for sure you're going to have 4 clients every single month. And so that's the way to start. And then to grow that, it's just a matter of measuring where you're at and scaling how many contacts you're talking to every month, and going from there, depending on what your goals are.
So how do you have a consistent sales funnel if it's not word of mouth?
There's a few ways to do this. Part of it is networking. You have to go out there and push yourself. Put yourself out there. Let everybody know that that what you're doing, that you're doing web design, web development, and part of it is there's a difference between having a business to consumer business and then a business to business business. And so mine is my model is business to business. My ideal clients happen to be businesses, typically. Whereas something like Amazon is business to consumer, where all the consumers are the ones making the purchases from Amazon. So my clients are mainly small businesses that need help with their websites. And one way to generate sales through that is either to buy leads or buy contacts from a company like one that I'm actually talking to right now is Dun & Bradstreet, which is a big data company. Or there's another one called Info USA. And so basically they have contact information on nearly every business that has existed or that starts up. And so you can buy some of that data, which includes contact information to their VPs, the CEOs of certain companies. You can narrow it down by the location. For example, here in the San Fernando Valley, in LA. So you can get some of that data.
This is all new to me. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you're learning something.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you start, compiling a list of potential clients, and then you contact them and then you check their website and see if maybe they need some help with their website or their marketing, and you contact them. And again, doing that consistently. So if you contact 30 businesses every month, then you will likely have. You can predict that you might have about 4 or 5 clients, 4 or 5 close sales every month.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, because you just talking about funnels. How does funnel created? Is it magic? No, it's a lot of hard work. It's called funnel because at the top is where you have all your contacts, and then so you have a bunch of contacts, and then out of those the funnel is going to close because there's going to be about only let's say a certain percentage that are going to be potential clients or that may need your solution, and then out of those there's only going to be a smaller portion that will actually pull the trigger and buy from you. So before we wrap up and actually give the tip, trick, and tool of the week, Frank, so what advice would you give to maybe future entrepreneurs who want to start their own business? You mentioned one thing, save up about a year's worth of salary, but anything else, any other advice? I know we've talked about in the past how ideas are cheap, or basically free, but how you kind of have to execute on that.
Right. So yes, I do kind of live with that ideas are cheap, motto. I've had quite a number of people come up to me and ask and showcase their idea, and they think that their idea is going to be the next $1 million idea, but that's where it kind of dies. They don't do anything with it. Maybe they think too big, and they think they need to save up a whole lot of money to be able to execute that idea. There's various reasons. Maybe they don't know where to start, and they never start. And so my biggest tip on that is to start now, right? So yeah, I could have saved up a year's worth of income and then jumped full time at that time. I don't know if I would have done that. I felt where at the point where I was at, where I jumped into my own business, I felt that was the perfect time. It was either now or never. I kind of felt like if I don't do it right now, I don't know when I'm going to do it. So I need to go in there and just try this now and just get it out of the way. Just do it. So that's my biggest thing. If you have an idea for an app, if you have an idea for a website, if you have an idea for a business, just stick your toe in the water, or stick a whole foot in, or a whole leg.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, you got to start. You got to start somewhere. And when you talked to me about this show a few months back, I'm glad that you got it done so quickly. I was like, okay, that's exactly what you need to do when you have ideas like this. Otherwise, they'll just kind of sit on the shelf, and they'll never get executed. And somebody will execute them, before you, and then you're gonna kick yourself, and you're gonna live in regret. So yeah, it's just just get it done, just do it. Just jump in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Frank, for your time. Sure. I guess now we'll jump in our tip trick of the week. We like to do this every week and give little tips, tricks, and little tools that kind of help us in our everyday life, professional life, from meeting new people, from networking, business, interviews, resume building. And I think I'm going to hand over to Frank because he has an exciting one that I've actually used. Definitely recommend. Use it, I think, once or twice. But I'll let Frank talk about Fiverr. Is that correct?
Yes, so it's Fiverr.com. I'm sure some of your listeners might have, or watchers might have used this. It's the word 5 with 2 R's at the end, Fiverr.com. And it's a website that, as the title says, what do you need done? Find it on Fiverr. So there is a large amount of work, of digital work that you can get done on here, whether it's like I saw, like voiceovers, marketing plans, business plans, even website design, templates for all kinds of stuff, logo design. You can get a lot done on here for $5 just to start. So there's a lot of things that I've done on here that I've used this service for, and have costed me more than like $5, $10, $15, $20. For example. And I've used this both for like personal and for professional work. So I've used this to get some leads for my business. I used this to create a flyer for my ship chapter for our Noche de Ciencias, which came out really well. It came out better than what I would have ever created, because it was done by a designer. And coincidentally, I had a couple of other chapters ask me if they could use it, and now I've seen it floating around the internet. Through a couple. It was
really good then.
Yeah, so it was it was pretty good. I really like how it came out, and it costed me like $20. It was pretty amazing. So I've done some things on here that haven't required a lot. I had my 40th birthday party back in March. And I created a little digital animation. I had them create a digital animation for me. I added some audio, and it came out really cool. I was like, wow. And I think I only paid about $20 for that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
A week. Yeah,
I remember seeing that. It was really cool. Yeah, I was very impressed. I really wanted to go. Sorry, I couldn't go.
That's fine. You're forgiven. But yeah, it was $20. I like the best. What was some of the best $20 I've ever spent.
Huh. And yeah, baseline is $5.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's little features you can add, and that adds up.
like,
but
like if you want to, have it in one day, if you want like some of the original files, if you want to add certain, things to it. But most of the stuff you can, starts at $5, which is, it's pocket change.
yeah, that's awesome. So my, I guess, app of the week, it's kind of funny, but it's very useful. So let me do this. So it's called Call Your Mother. Very funny name, but it actually serves a very good purpose. So basically, Call Your Mother, basically what it does, it reminds you to call any person. So actually, this first time I do this, I have an over-the-shoulder shot. We'll see how this works. But yeah, so there's the app. Right now, this app is on Android. I know there's one for iPhones. I don't think it's made by the same developer, but it's called the same thing, Call Your Mother. So basically what you do is you add a person. So I'll go ahead and, hey, I need to call Frank, right? So let's put Frank in. Search him up.
I'm not your mother.
No, you're not. So basically what you can use this is, instead of calling your mother, remind you to call your mother, you can add it to call, let's say, professionals, right? So I'm going to remind me to call Frank, and you can set priorities, right? So if I want this app to remind me to call Frank, or to kind of engage with him, so I can keep contact with him, I can set a priority. So let's say medium, let's say add, and from there I select him, and it says, okay, the last text I had with him was 1 day ago. So it says nice as a priority, so I don't have to call him again. But if I do fall behind now and keep in touch with him, it will remind me. So there's a couple settings here. One is the prior level settings. So you can set like high, medium, low, and what those are. Allow push notifications. The time it reminds us, this is kind of handy. So maybe you're free most of the time at night. I am, and that's where you can kind of engage in conversations to kind of reach back to professionals that you haven't talked to in like 6 months. Definitely do that. Notification frequency, every other day, and then communication sync frequency to kind of save battery. I do it every 24 hours. So basically, what I use this for is, I have a list of contacts and that I really want to keep in contact, and I don't want to go out a year without talking to them, and the app will just remind me, hey, you haven't been in contact with Frank, and I need to go reach out to him and say, hey, how are you? How's work doing? Yeah. Definitely use it for your mom, add her there. But definitely, I've used it for just keeping contact. It's always good to keep that network alive. You don't want it to die down. So I think that's my trick of the week. And I think it's time for our shameless plugs, right, Frank?
Yeah, hey, before I just had an idea for an app.
Okay.
It's called Call Your Friend's Mother.
Okay.
Maybe not a PG version, but
right.
We wouldn't do too well. Anyway, the shameless plugs.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to plug is obviously my website, adinicio.com.
If you need any web development, have an app idea.
Yeah. If you need any web work done, any programming, like I said, I'm a coder by nature. I love programming, so anything that's involved with that, I can do. My Twitter account, if you want to follow me, is Frank B75. B as in boy. Not very creative, but I created it a long time ago. And
it works.
And then I'm on LinkedIn also. LinkedIn /Frank.Barragan. I'm all over the place, so just Google me and I'm sure you'll find me.
Yeah, you'll come up. So I wish you can Google me and find me. Unfortunately, I have the same name as a famous husband celebrity who's very controversial.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so you can go do that in your spare time. But if you look up social network, Juan Zepeda, but mainly Tonight in STEM. TonightInSTEM.com. I have that updated. We're also on Instagram, Facebook. Let's see, where else? Just mainly our YouTube channel. Keep there, and just come back next week. We'll have another guest.
I feel like you should have at the end. Tonight in STEM was brought to you by.
Yes, brought to you by Ad Inicio, right? All right, buddy. Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you. Hey, Juan, I can't hear you. That's better.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to STEM. It feels right to the field of, well, science, engineering,
Hey, can I stop you for a second? Sorry.
Come on, Frank.
No, you know what I was gonna say is I can hear you breathing when the titles come up.
Oh.
I can hear like